Hello everyone, and welcome to
Plenty of
Game 1
resources
in
in this
our
map.
series between Cubit32 and PBHead.
Are you still there,
Reveal
Sultan?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I'm still good to go. Let's go ahead and take a look at... Let's go ahead and look at this map, see that we have plenty of resources. You are correct, Soren. Got a lot of carbon available in the middle. Got a lot of iron available. I think everybody's going to be able to do basically whatever they want this game.
So this is one of the odd things about Reveal Map, is sometimes you get these maps where there's plenty of resources, which means basically you might as well just wait.
Yeah, exactly.
But having said that, I think we all know where PBHead is looking. He's looking at that high and medium carbon in the middle of the map. Good spot in the middle. There's water nearby. There's aluminum nearby. Silicon's not too far away. It's just a great scavenger spot.
Certainly.
And I would think he would found just a little to the southwest of it, maybe. Not. I would put it in the crater.
I would go in the crater. I mean, the crater's big enough here, right?
I would go in the other crater. Chomp up some
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm
carbon.
talking about. You go in the big crater to the west. You get some of that carbon available. I think you can get like 40 or 60 carbon out of that, depending on where you plant. And you're closer to that water, which you might just want to grab up.
Are they deadlocked?
They might be. It might be a case where nobody wants to found. Both people want that extra claim from HQ level 2 right now. We'll just have to see who goes first. Yeah.
I actually just programmed something yesterday to fix this, where it will basically it'll start counting up. You'll start getting $100 a second to whoever founds first, and whoever found second doesn't get it.
Is that just once the found colony has hit $0?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So,
we'll have to see what happens for now. Without that incentive in play, both of them are going to want that new claim. I don't know who's going to bite the bullet first. You can still get some advantages from founding first. Maybe both of them just waiting for the other to get tired. We've never seen players actually do this before, unfortunately. At least not in this tournament. But some advantages you can get from founding first are obviously that you're going to have faster access to that market by just a slim margin. If you click through fast enough, you can get the cheap prices on the aluminum that you want to purchase. You can get the better sell prices on things like silicon and carbon. So we're going to have to see if either of them feels like taking that advantage. Both of them really just waiting each other out for this new claim, though. Which means, unfortunately, we have a pretty...
Yeah, I'm actually going to suggest we restart.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what else to do.
We can. Now we'll see what PB has to say. Because neither of you will found is why. And then we'll turn off reveal map because you've decided to do this way. It's good to have a solution for this popping into the game at least soon. But
scientific colony found.
well, PB had decided he's going to found, and he's actually going scientific up in that corner. Definitely an understandable play, a solid play. That's not a spot that either of us had really identified as a strong one yet. However, and Cubit also going scientific. Well, scientific is considered to be very powerful on this patch. So
I guess so. Man, I would have gone scavenger on this map.
I really like PB's spot in a way. I'm concerned about its access to water and the fact that he did go scientific. He's going to need to get up to HQ level 2 very quickly to likely secure some of the exceptionally valuable water claims on the other end of the map. But he's on top of iron, so he has good steel production, and he's also right next to aluminum, so he can go quite heavily into that to support early upgrades and not get punished in the late game.
Why didn't he go for the spot kind of in the east, where there's a big clump of aluminum and iron and silicon nearby? I don't understand.
Well, I think he really wanted that aluminum adjacent to his base in particular. When the aluminum is right next to you, you can actually take way too much of it in the early game and then transition it very, very easily. If you have your aluminum separated from you, pretty much all you can do with it late game is move it on into power.
Yeah, but the gap is just not that big down there. Oh well, whatever. I'm just surprised the one spot I would have gone for scientific, neither of them chose.
Yeah.
I like Cubit's spot a lot. However, he's got a silicon triangle nearby him. He's got a carbon triangle. He's near the water. Although PB had already grabbed 2 of those waters, which is a good move on his part.
Yeah, exactly. PBHead managing to secure 2 of those water. It was very important, actually, that he got the found first in this particular case, because it allowed him to go ahead and push on past his opponent and get to those water, despite how much closer Cubit was.
Yeah, having said that, I like Cubit's spot and position better in general, and he's got the extra claim at level 2. So I don't know. I like him. I like where he's sitting right now.
Yeah, the extra claim at level 2 going to be a big deal here for Cubit, especially because he does have access to that already. Scientific's always upgrading to level 2 very quickly.
All right, 24 for the geotherm. You think that's right?
Oh, definitely. That's going to even up the claim count. I think people underbid geotherms a lot most of the time. When you've got a new claim available to you, I mean, it is a new claim. It just says, hey, you kind of have to take a power claim right now. But later on, when you're sorting out through your claims, you don't have to think about power because you've got geotherms established already.
Right.
So
he's already almost. He could build a geotherm pretty soon, but I'm guessing he's going to go. He can actually build it right now, but I assume he's waiting for the upgrades.
Yeah, I think he's going to push to HQ level 3 fairly quickly. We can see he's already sold down enough steel to purchase up his glass. Cubit has not gotten there yet, by the way. This is another big deal about founding first, though, right? I mean, Cubit, he got to those lit prices a little bit later, and so PBHead's managing to maybe pull ahead just a bit to HQ level 3.
I would love to see PBHead nuke the medium aluminum that Cubit got. I think that would be a real waste of a tile then for Cubit.
Well, you have to spend 2 nukes to nuke down a scientific, and so
you're right.
It's a little bit risky, but I would kind of like to see PBHead. We can see he's been keeping the aluminum price high for a while, kind of forcing Cubit to take that. He wasn't selling down aluminum at all.
Yeah.
And now he can decide to flood it if he wants. And yeah, he could also just mutiny, control that market. There are a lot of options here for PB and how he wants to play this out.
Yeah, boy, they're really fighting over those water tiles. PBHead is going to claim the last one right now. Unless Cubit can get there first, and he will not.
Yeah, he's absolutely not going to. That's going to be 3 farms for PB. 3
Cubit
reactors
should be able
for
to
Cubit.
upgrade now. I don't know what he's waiting for.
Yeah, Cubit, let's go ahead and check. He does not have the aluminum, in fact, is what he does not have. And he's good 7,000 short because of it. He's also actually moved into a new claim. And this is something I talk about way too much, apparently, but he's going to take a geotherm with that now. I don't like that move, but I think PBHead might sell enough aluminum.
He had the fuel. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it looked to me like if he sold the fuel, he could have bought the aluminum.
Yeah, he went for a new claim instead.
And normally, you don't really want to upgrade until you can actually buy the buildings, but in this case, I really would have wanted to see him grab that 6th water tile that PB grabbed out from under him. I think he could have done that if he was a bit faster.
Yeah, I think that was an option available to him, but pushing to the new claim instead, not going to happen. Cubit has now managed to hit HQ level 3.
Yep. What do you think he's going to do? Go for glass? Grab that silicon triangle?
I think glass is the obvious play, at least for Cubit here, and for a good reason.
He's got the electrolysis already anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. I think he'd be good to go with glass. Energy Vault, though, this patent...
Wow.
All right, these players valuing this appropriately.
That's nice to see.
In my opinion.
It's an odd patent, but it certainly has value.
Yeah, it's definitely a situational patent. 28,000, probably reasonable to let that go for 28,000. Don't want to push too much higher than that, but with power at its ridiculous price, that's going to provide players with a 200 power stockpile here.
And he doesn't necessarily need to goon squad his geotherm, although it's immediately mutinied.
Yeah.
Nice.
Still going to be a nice amount of debt reduction over to PB based on that, although it would be nice of him to establish his own geotherm, perhaps.
Yeah. So what do you think, farms versus electrolysis? Who made the right move?
I think in a 1v1, it's going to show that PB made the right move. Electrolysis, there's just not enough pressure on fuel to make this particularly good in this case, in my opinion. So I don't think the electrolysis play can beat the farm play on this patch in
That's
a 1v1
scenario. I really wish he'd gone for the upgrade to grab that 6th tile, and then PB would be stuck with just those 2 farms.
Yeah.
I think that would have been. I think that could have been a huge turning point in the game.
All right, finally PBHead going to establish his own geotherm after upgrading. PBHead is actually going to be the one to move into glass here, whereas Cubit has just moved into solar panels. So that's interesting. Oh man, and a steel shortage going on. Both players sitting on very similar amounts of steel here. I'm wondering if one of them is going to sell out of this. very quickly to try and get to an
Someone
expansion.
just did.
Yep, PBHead
Which
did.
one? PBHead. Good move, PB.
A little bit. Might have been just a hair early, but
Well,
it's definitely
if you do
the
it before your
safer play.
opponent, it's never too early.
Exactly. Definitely the safer play. Water has also gotten very expensive here.
No.
That's something to pay
PBHead
attention
has
to this game.
His geotherm is up now. He was losing about 200 to 300 a second on power.
Yeah, but
Oof.
he had that geotherm
Now Cubit's
constructing.
making
He's only losing
1,300 on
44.
power.
Well, Cubit's paying off 1,300 in debt on power.
Yeah.
Which is important to do. It's nice to pay off debt in a 1v1 scenario, especially to keep that stock price afloat. However, it's important to note at this point that 3 of Cubit's tiles, while not wasted, are not making money at the moment. In fact, 6 of his tiles, because he's turned off his reactors as well for some reason.
Yeah. Who has the Goon Squad? Oh, yeah, Cubit does. So Cubit knows that PB's geotherm is unprotected.
Mm-hmm.
Considering that he's going for the power play, I would consider throwing a power surge on that geotherm.
Yeah, power surge or dynamite, just anything, kind of shut that thing down.
Not immunity,
Especially
because you want to take that power off the market.
Yeah, exactly. You can go for mutiny, but I think dynamite is really the way to go. Especially because steel's price is so high right now.
Yeah, I agree. And PBA just sold all the steel.
Mm-hmm.
Another geotherm. Okay, well that changes things.
Yep.
Where was the geotherm? Oh, the EMP. Oh, he hit the power. Power and steel.
Yep.
So he's been hit twice now. Has had his steel knocked out, so he's going to be significantly behind PBHead in steel at this point, I would think. Yeah, this PBHead's already level 5. Wow.
Yeah, PBHead's just tearing on ahead. He's had that steel production going strong this whole time. I believe he's actually moving into another steel mill we can see right now to try and take advantage of that high steel price and possibly allow himself to push a bit better toward an Offworld. If we go ahead and check those prices, we're going to see that food pushing close to $600 value Offworld. And so if PBHead can get to that and establish it early, well, he's going to have that scientific bonus, so...
Yeah, you're right. The oxygen fuel prices are not great at all Offworld. I wonder if you noticed that early and that was part of the reasoning of food. I don't know.
Very well could be. We can see those reactors have gotten better than the farms at this stage of the game, finally. So I think this Offworld transition is definitely something PB should be looking for. He does have one claim stored up for it, if that is the case, and if that's what he wants to make happen.
You know, but it looks like the power play just did not work out for Cubit. He's now switching over to glass, and really he should have been glass a long time ago, I would say. Yeah,
you have to be very careful when going for a power play, because yeah, he paid off his debt brilliantly. He only has 20,000 debt. PB has 120,000 debt. PB's stock price is still higher because he's just been making more money and sailing through upgrades this game, though. And Cubit stuck back on HQ level 3. He just didn't have the cash to get anything done this game.
If you go for a power play, you have to be relentless with the black market, and really, it's most viable if you're scavenger, and it's least viable if you're playing against scientific. So, I just don't think he just wouldn't have had the speed to do it this game.
Yeah. It should also be noted that PBHead has managed to use his claim advantage to move into chemicals very effectively.
Yeah.
He's been in glass this whole time, cutting into Cubit's potential glass profits. So PB's just making a lot of money around this map, and Cubit's going to need to get to an upgrade or some of those extra claims he loves so much in order to kind of catch up and manage to push through and keep up with PB's expansion. Thankfully he does. That's HQ level 4 available for Cubit. I just hear furious tapping back there. Interestingly enough, PBHead moving into additional farms. This is going to be losing him significant amounts of money now that the dust storm came online. But of course, PB responding to that immediately, shutting his farms down. Perhaps a bit strangely, because he could have left his farms on top of water online. I don't think he really noticed that mistake, shutting down all of his food production, rather than just the 3 that were actually costing him money. However, PBHead has finally managed to go ahead and push into that off-world market. It is defended by a Goon Squad already. That guarantees one launch with fantastic profits from this low food price. It's going to be like $50,000 off of just that launch, and the auction is completely unimportant. Auction coming out for Water Engine. I would have considered that if I were PB, actually, taking Water Engine this game. He already has access to a significant amount of water if he wants it, but he is going to pass it up. So that's going to keep supporting Cubit's fuel production, this idea that Water Engine would have replaced PB's reliance on fuel with a reliance on water. Maybe it would have cut into Cubit's profits just a bit.
Wow,
PBHead.
water engine recommendation. You heard it here
Yeah,
first.
definitely. This game, of course, water engine recommendation. Look at this. PB's got so much water that he could take, right? He already had access to a high water tile and a medium water tile very easily. He already had a high water tile taken. And Cubit's making fuel. And on top of that, PB's already drinking in fuel because he's got these chem labs down, right?
Sure.
So yeah, water engine. Why not?
Well, people often group water engine and cold fusion together, but water engine is, generally speaking, just straight up better.
Oh, just straight up better than cold fusion. Totally different scenario, right? Cold fusion, you're going the wrong way. You're switching from an unlimited resource, almost, to a very limited resource. The least limited out of the, like, dozen standard resources we have, but still a limited resource for cold fusion. Whereas with water engine, you're doing the opposite. You're taking a resource that is plentiful and using that instead of a resource that just takes a bit more effort to generate. So...
well, see, he tried one dynamite against the Offworld market. But, I mean, I think at this point, this game is...
I think at this point, Cubit is so far behind. He has managed to hit HQ level 5, which is a big deal because his stock price is very high. $23 stock price right now for Cubit, but it might just be too little too late at this point.
Yeah.
We're not surprised, just disappointed.
It's also kind of sad watching a scientific versus scientific match because you really don't get a whole lot of the black market going on. Because both players are sitting here going, "Ah, well, I guess I could," but
they're both sitting on an unused goon squad.
That's
what I see right now.
Not too surprising for PB. Cubit, on the other hand, you know, Cubit, I don't know if he was expecting PB to finally attack him somewhere important.
I mean, he's close to an Offworld market. He's only 10,000 away from being able to build one.
Yeah, well, glass's price has come way down. Steel's price has come way down. Maybe a bit of a misplay from PB there, overproducing steel once he had gotten to an Offworld. But even if Cubit gets it constructed, which he just started it, it's 2 minutes until that thing makes him any money.
Yeah.
So he's still not in a good way. I do worry that PB is getting a bit complacent with his tiles after pushing to that fast of an Offworld. He has at least moved out of his fuel and out of his chems and into carbon in this moment, which is a good play given that carbon's price has gone up to $72 and fuel is up at $113.
Yeah.
But I worry he could be transitioning some of these other things around a bit better to maybe make a bit more money at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's got a goose squad up. He's just one launch away from winning the game.
Exactly. That's also kind of how you can look at it. Is Cubit just fell so far behind that I don't know if he'll manage to catch up. Now, one big play here from Cubit is he's managed to push into the carbon near his base and connect it to his base, along with some power. You almost want to see a power surge from PB on all of that nonsense, rather than a $30,000 goon squad being purchased, because that's going to be a lot of carbon in Cubit's pocket.
Yeah. Well, PB has a 76%.
Yep. But here's the thing. Cubit's starting to buy into PBHead stock. Will it be enough to keep him afloat?
He needs 450k to buy him out.
Yeah. But all you have to do really is keep making those small purchases.
Yeah, it goes down as you start buying it. Realistically, he needs maybe 250.
Yeah, he's starting to get there, but of course, Cubit sitting here awaiting orders. There goes the launch for PB. Cubit never getting a single launch off of his Offworld. PB's going to easily take that game 1-0 in the series.
It's tough. When PB has the advantage on you,
it's hard to fight back.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I want to point out something real quick, because I know I catch a lot of flack for saying this these days, now that I've decided on it in my head, is this idea that early claims are a trap. And I want to point it out right here, basically. Cubit went for an early claim. I think he even potentially went for quite a few claims, right? He went for 2 claims purchased.
Yeah, he went for 2. Spent
the 2 first claims. He spent $10,000 on those. He was so far behind in tiles for so long that game because he could not reach HQ level 4, because he could not reach HQ level 5. I think if you're going to do something like that, you really need to focus on making money to cover the cost. I don't think he could afford that power play. He just didn't have the cash on hand to make it happen. He never made money off of any of his power, period, all game long. And if you're going to go in to the black market that heavily, you need to make enough money to cover the cost. And Cubit definitely didn't do that this game.
Yeah, I made a power play against Gameslayer, but that's because I knew I was going to be able to work my way out of debt.
Exactly.
That was my entire goal. And it only paid off because of that. Otherwise, you're just, you're lowering your debt, which means you're going to stay in the game longer, but it doesn't, your opponent is actually doing something with their claims.
Exactly. And sitting on more claims as well, because PB just got to HQ level 5 while Cubit was still stuck on HQ level 3. I mean, that's such a huge difference.
To me, is all about that level 3 found. Cubit was in, I think, the better position on the map, which was ironic since he found it second. And he could have upgraded to level 3 right after PB did, and could have grabbed that fourth water, get 4 of those 6 waters, which meant PBHead would not have had 3 farms. And I think it just would have made a huge difference in the match.
Yeah, I think that was certainly important. Cubit may be being a bit slow on that front, but I still liked PBHead's found. I mean, Cubit maybe had a bit better access to certain things on this map, but I think it was a real big deal that Cubit had basically a wasted tile sitting out in the middle of nowhere on aluminum, and PB didn't. All of PB's tiles had a purpose and a use that game. Every last one. Whereas Cubit's, the same cannot be said with that aluminum tile sitting out there like that. It's just maybe small missteps, but against PBHead, that will absolutely get you killed in this game. There's a reason this is the finals.
Yep.
All right.
Well, we got potentially 4 more, so...
Right, best of 5 here today, correct?
Yep.
So I think these players are usually kind of anxious. They'll want to get going, so I'll start up another lobby for game 2. Druid Blake Storm with the strong analysis in chat right now. All right, map size small. Do we want to do reveal map again? Do we want to risk that?
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I've seen it. If it's a problem again, we'll change it. What I don't understand is that the alpha market got the first shipment out before I was able to.
I'd have to go back and look at the match.
Yeah, I just don't remember.
If PBHead says he was a bit slow on the second Dynamite, then I will trust PBHead. He was going to be paying a lot more attention to his Offworld than I was.
It's probably on the stream. Are you saving the replays?
I tried to, but I don't think I could get it to work last time.
Really? It's you know where the file is, right?
I thought so, and I thought I was copying it over, but it didn't seem to do a whole lot.
It should be in your documents, my games, Offworld, and then there's just a replay.binary.
Okay, I have to go into my games Offworld. Interesting.
Yeah.
You've got 2 Offworld folders and documents here. One of them requires my games.
In fact, I actually look like I have it too.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've got it saved off now because I know the right spot.
Yep. And of course, no promises for this being compatible with any other version, Beta 3, but...
Well, yeah, of course.
But it is nice to have it.
Standard. I had an issue with Heroes of the Storm yesterday. I got sent a replay to cast 2 nights ago. And then yesterday a hotfix comes out, and I can't cast anymore, and it's like, come on. I mean, we gotta be that way. So I understand that idea.
Let's see, in case you didn't get any documents, /my games /Offworld /replay. Yeah, I believe that's the path. Winner is quick to save the replay. Or PB has not lost a game in this tournament, right?
PB had lost a game. He lost 1 game to Gameslayer.
Oh, you're right.
I believe, yeah.
Cubit, in fact, is the player who has not lost a game yet.
Yep.
The only player who has not lost a game until now.
I mean, until now.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. GameSlayer took that first match.
Yep, Gameslayer take the first one. I thought, yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, PBHead, it really just didn't look like PBHead. I called it out then, had his head in the game that time, and then the next two, he was just slammed right through him. It was good stuff. PBHead in chat. Yeah, all right.
All right, looks like they're ready.
Okay. We'll just go ahead and hop into game number 2 here. Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 2 in our best of 5 series for the Offworld, or second Offworld tournament finals between Cubit32 and PBHead. The map's a bit different this time. I'm especially noticing only 8 aluminum tiles and all of them low. What are you seeing over there, Soren?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot faster found this time around. Especially that area right next to the colony is pretty fascinating. That's basically where the good iron and and carbon is. And now in beta 3, when you found, you get control of the tiles that are adjacent to your colony for 60 seconds. No one else can claim them. Beyond the fact, no one else can found within 4 tiles of you. So if you just plop down right there, let's say you go scavenger, wipe out that iron.
Yeah, right? That's one way to look at it. Whereas I look at it and I think, man, expansive. Think how many resources I could get. Look at all that carbon off the map.
Sure.
How beautiful would that be? But the downside to expansive there is you're right up against the colony.
All right, so Cubit went scientific instead. I think any of those options are fine right there. You know, as long as you grab those spots.
Founded.
Interestingly enough, he could have gone scavenger still with where Cubit found it.
Definitely.
But he chose not to. So again, well, all right. Well,
once again, people valuing scientific on this patch.
Yeah, well, it's
true or not, it's how people see it, right?
Yeah, it's funny because in the semifinals, and even extending before that a little bit, see, we had this long string of scientific losing games, and of course, which was just kind of ironic. I mean, I do think scientific is very strong, but it was just kind of funny that it was running counter to the meta understanding of the game. Whereas now, we're just seeing scientific versus scientific, which is also not telling us anything. So the tournament is not really teaching us much in regard to scientific right now.
Yeah. Cubit delaying his upgrade to HQ level 2. That's very interesting to me.
What do you think of that single steel mill?
I think that's totally fine because he got the aluminum.
He's going to upgrade almost immediately anyway. So, and he's only going for a second steel mill. They're racing for the water.
They're racing for the water.
Yeah, Cubit's going to beat him to it.
For sure.
Yeah, PBHead went ahead and canceled his
claim send and decided to go for a steel mill instead. Yeah, absolutely.
Cubit is very vulnerable on aluminum, though.
Yep.
That is the rough spot. I guess that's just how it goes. I don't think this water is that big of a deal, though, because there's plenty of water there. The issue is more that PBHead is so far away from the water.
Yeah, that is the big concern here. He found it next to that aluminum. Once again, valuing the aluminum and iron, but very far from the water is going to be a little bit more difficult for him to use this game.
Clearly,
love
that's
seeing a pirate auction.
Clearly that's his belief. I mean, I would have done probably more of the same thing. I mean, you have to be by the iron if you're scientific, period. So, you know.
Yeah, because of situations like this
spot, one. Yeah. I think he took the logical second best spot on the map, but that water is going to be a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Now, it should be said that there is ice on the map everywhere, right?
I mean,
including under his aluminum.
Into ice, so he is somewhat insulated.
Or even the steel, if the game hits the right moment. I mean, we oftentimes see that 3 steel a second for both players. That's kind of flooding the steel market just a bit. You have to be careful with it to really make it work.
And we haven't talked about silicon much, but PBHead just claimed the only silicon that's adjacent to 2 other silicons on the map.
Yeah, so just getting more and more upgrade resources for himself.
Yeah.
Very
so
interesting.
It's funny. Cubit took what looked like the best location on the map, but PBHead is already, I feel, in a better position. It's just a question of whether being so far away from the water is going to kill him or not. But it's not like Cubit is right next door to the water either. So,
exactly.
You know, it's really just the difference between the 2 headquarters, which is not huge.
Yeah, I think another big thing to look at here, maybe one reason PBHead was able to grab up those very important pirates in the scientific 1v1 is because Cubit, he did found very early. I believe he started the game with about $70,000 of debt, whereas PB founded late enough that he started the game with 0 debt. We can see food coming in for Cubit now. PB attempting to steal some of that. He is going to grab about half of Cubit's food away with these pirates so far, and that's just going to keep on going for until he's hit 200 units of food.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a new situation. Yeah, if there's a big gap in the found, you are kind of like guaranteeing yourself. The second player is kind of guaranteeing himself that first auction, whatever it ends up being. And with pirates, yeah, that's going to be painful for a scientific player. I mean, they're immune to a lot of black market stuff, but they're the most vulnerable to pirates.
Absolutely. Another interesting thing.
I actually surprised. I feel like pirates could have actually gone for higher, even with all the debt that they had taken on.
Yeah, I think they could have, but Cubit may be a little bit nervous after losing the first one.
Yep.
Maybe he doesn't want to push too hard. Gonna let it go for 24,000.
He probably is afraid of flaming out in game 2, right? Which is
yeah, exactly. Not what you want to do. Hard to recover from going down 2-0 in a best of 5.
Yeah. So what do you think about that silicon quarry that Cubit claimed?
I think that was an entirely spiteful move. I'm not sure if it was a well thought out move. Yeah, yeah, that's how I see it. It blocks PB from getting down 3 glass furnaces, right? But what does it do for you long term?
And if you see, Cubit has already put down 2 glass furnaces in that tiny crater. If you have that claim back, he could get 3 of them down.
Exactly. You could have a nice easy triangle.
Yeah, having a third without the core resource is not that big of a deal for Scientific. It's just not.
Exactly. Vast majority of the time, at least. Very, very rarely will it come back and hurt you.
Turn off that building, and you're still getting the adjacency
bonuses. Exactly. You still have basically an entire extra building there if it's adjacent to 2 more things, because it's providing in total 100% value of adjacency bonuses on its own, even without being online.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that for PBHead, with his 2 glass furnaces, his 3rd glass furnace should be a triangle as opposed to on the silicon.
Exactly. If he drops it on the silicon, he's losing 50% of production on a glass furnace, basically. Well, I guess he's losing 100%? No, 50%, I believe. No, is it 100? Yeah, he ends up with a value of 5 glass furnaces with 3 positioned on top of the silicon instead of 6 from a triangle.
Right.
So, given that silicon's low priced right now, PBHead, he probably would be willing just to go for the triangle instead. So I really don't like that move out of Cubit. All right. Both players still sitting on HQ level 3. Interestingly enough, Cubit reacting to the steel shortage and has moved into additional steel production. He actually has 4 steel mills down instead of the standard 3 at this point.
How high did steel get to? Because it's not that great right now.
It's not a fantastic right now, but $54 a second, it still is not bad on this map. I think a lot of tiles are struggling to make that amount in particular. With PBHead's electrolysis really being the only key thing.
Yeah,
and yeah, power is getting out of hand. You are correct.
And he's got a geothermal going up right now. PBHead is sitting on the Goon Squad, which is interesting. He's not using it, and he doesn't have a geotherm coming, so he's going to be forcing Cubit to potentially pay 6,000, which I think he really needs to for that geo with his price and power. He's got to figure out a way to get 6,000 bucks.
Absolutely.
You could sell all his silicon and some of his glass and get to that. Okay, which he has done. Okay, he's Goon Squad of the geotherm, so he's safe there. His claims are just kind of all over the place.
Another interesting thing to note, by the way, because PB is sitting on that Goon Squad, he won't know for sure that Cubit has purchased and used a Goon Squad at this moment. So if he were to go for a mutiny, he would be blind to that fact right now.
No, it goes up to 9,000 for him, too.
Right, but he can't tell because he's storing one. And so he can't see the price of it, or at least most of the time. He didn't used to be able to. It might appear these days.
Now
just in that bottom corner. Okay. So he's going to have to be paying close attention to that, but finally PBHead getting down some power. Sheesh.
Those electrolysis are just making a killing for PBHead.
It's so different this game, and that's really interesting because it's opposite from what we saw last game, right? Where food was the more valuable water resource, for sure. These farms not making a whole lot for Cubit. Maybe in a triangle they would be doing a bit better. However, electrolysis a lot better than it was last game. Yeah. Simply because both of these players are sending so many resources from so far away.
But it's not the fuel, it's the oxygen. Did we miss an oxygen shortage?
Well, oxygen is a factor as well because both players have moved into some amount of glass. And yeah, oxygen is a higher price, but fuel, realistically, with all these reactors running last game, fuel would have been down to like maybe $20, $30.
Yeah.
And so still holding up at that $60 price is a big increase to the value of these reactors.
Well, they're both committing hard into power, which I understand, but they both are over $150,000 in debt, so... I don't know. I feel like Cubit should have used his tile for something besides that power, because he's not going to be able to he's not going to be able to knock PBHead out of the game with power, and his geotherm is fine. He should just sit on the geo.
Scientific colony expanded.
Yeah. Important to note there was
what could he have moved into? He could put chemicals on.
Water.
He could put them on the carbon. He could have put chemicals on that carbon, or 3 solar condensers.
Yeah, exactly. Like he can even potentially have scrapped out of his steel, like just bought up a decent store of steel, scrapped out of it, and then moved into water under those, and still gone for the power to pay down debt, things of that nature. Oh, I like it. Double mutiny out of PBHead. It is, of course, still a dust storm right now. So that's not going to be as effective as one would want, but...
I figured he would have waited, but I guess that price is just so high. What's he making in power right now? He's making...
Well, PBHead's not making anything in power right now because all of his power has been frozen, but at least Cubit is not successfully paying off his debt in large quantities right now, right? He's stuck on that ridiculous amount of debt, and PBHead has finally managed to move into solar panels in addition to his wind turbines. So that pretty much guarantees PBHead once again has his edge everywhere this game.
He's making 1,500 a second on power.
And that'll just continue to increase as his wind turbines come online.
That is definitely going to be an issue in this game. It's gotten to that point where the interest payments are actually fairly significant.
For sure. And PBHead, he's been getting the better deal with most of these auctions simply because he started with significantly less debt than Cubit. And Cubit, he's never really recovered from it. He's already up to almost 200,000 debt. Stock price of $7 in a 1v1 seems rather low. If we remember last game, Cubit's stock price easily hit $20. So we're seeing a very different scenario this time around.
I mean, PBA can already buy 4 shares of the stock. Oh, but instead he goes to the Offworld market.
No big surprise.
He doesn't make the mistake I would make in this situation.
Yeah, you are pretty aggressive sometimes, but
I see that button.
And you want to press it, I know.
It's hard to resist.
It's like, this button says I can win the game if I press it 10 times. Oh, man, I can only press it 8 times. Shoot.
Oh, man.
Guess
Look
what?
at all that stuff being blimped all the way across the map from those water tiles.
Oh, yeah. That is just so much fuel being consumed right now, but at least it's still getting on the way home. Oh, wow. Thinking machines. Are you serious right now?
Wow,
this is like the single most valuable auction on this map right now, possibly. I mean, teleportation would be good too, don't get me wrong, but thinking machines is so good.
We're in the off-world phase, so...
Exactly.
However, they already are both scientific. So this basically turns it from a -50 bonus, -50 to -25%.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's true.
So it's not...
15 seconds to repair an off-world, you know?
Yeah, versus 30 seconds.
Versus 30 seconds, yeah. But still, just 15 seconds. It easily lets you kind of get to that point, though, where if you have thinking machines and your opponent doesn't, you maybe force them to keep buying goon squads and spending all that extra cash, and you just kind of let one off-world shipment slow down by maybe 30 seconds because you got hit twice. It's just, it makes mutinies so hard to use. And it lets you, instead of defending yourself with goon squads, you can be more assured of going aggressive with your black market once you have thinking machines.
I don't know, when you're scientific, the thing is, they can be, what I think will happen is people will get thinking machines, then they'll start letting off on the goon squads, which then just allows the other player to buy up some goon squads. Like,
well, that's just a mistake, and it's silly.
Well, it's a common mistake.
You buy up all the cheap ones yourself, you spread them out everywhere, like one on your off-world, and then you force your opponent to pay 50,000.
He is a good player. He has a goon squad on the off-world, and he has one stored.
Oh, yeah.
So he's not messing around. And he has thinking... Wait, no, Cubit got thinking machines.
Yeah, Cubit got thinking machines, but he's not getting any use out of it anytime soon.
Doesn't have an off-world. Is he close? He's got 100 electronics. He's just... Yeah, he's very close to being able to build a off-world market.
I just think, once again, it's too little too late. We actually see Cubit, I believe, sold some of his own stock. He knows the end is coming. He just wants to push on through to game number 3 at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Delete his steel mill. Steel's at $3.
Nah, he's giving up.
Oh, he's just giving up. Fair enough.
Yeah, like he was selling his stock. Well, he was selling his stock, right? Which we all know is a suicide move in that state of the game.
People should just start resigning. I mean, it's what it's there for.
I know, but it's so much more interesting to get that really loud buyout noise at the end of the game for that victory screen.
Well, it's interesting for the winner, I guess. But
exactly. So it's nice of Q, but we should respect him for that.
Little etiquette. Oof, all right, so we're already at 2-0.
Yep. I want to point out again, 2 claims purchased by Cubit. I don't think they were worth it. I think he delays his upgrades too much with those claims. PBHead going for the third claim for 9,000 because he had already established enough income at that point to make it worthwhile.
Yep.
Also, 2 mutinies for PBHead and then 2 goon squads, only 5 black market purchases, whereas Cubit forced into 6, trying to get aggressive against that Offworld, but it was just too little too late by the time it actually came down.
I really feel like that silicon quarry cost Cubit a lot.
I think that was a huge deal.
There's a lot more you could do with that tile.
Interestingly enough, Cubit, when he was sending out that tile, he sent that claim to aluminum initially to just get some adjacency bonuses with his own aluminum.
Yeah.
And instead, he goes into this kind of weird silicon play where he's got a tile just making 1 silicon a second. I don't know if silicon and aluminum were really that differently priced throughout that game, so maybe having 2 more aluminum would have been better.
I could have maybe seen it if that silicon was in the triangle position. Maybe.
Yeah, block the triangle, sure, why not? But even then, I mean...
You can go the triangle the other direction.
He can still go a triangle the other direction, exactly. He can still set up a triangle if he wanted to. And we saw PB never even cared. He just sat on 2. He's like, fine, whatever. I'll work with this. It's all good. I don't know, man.
We got 1,200 viewers.
Hi, viewers.
I'm definitely going to be rooting for Cubit here in this game just to extend the series. I want some drama for the viewers.
Yeah, let's look for Cubit to bring it back in Game 3 and actually get us to a nice series here. But PBHead, once again, stomping through these finals fairly effectively. Even better than he did in the first tournament. All right, is there anything else you want to look at for this one? Both of them are out of here. I imagine they want to push to game.
Let's get the game up.
Yep. All right. Observer, small, reveal map. Not forgetting any details this time. To clarify, Josh88, Cubit had that silicon all game. So what I'm talking about is the part of the game that mattered, which is the early game. Once you hit to that late game and you've already lost because your opponent has constructed an off-world that early, I don't really care what the value of any of the resources are. When you've already had like 6 of your stock bought up and you don't have any yourself, that game's over. So it doesn't matter if you successfully made a play now, as long as in the mid-game you didn't get enough of an advantage off of it. Oh, Cubit with the winning strategy. He's going to play on Team 8 this time. I see how it is. Oh, man. Alright guys, game number 3 coming out in just a moment here. Your end, I don't know about the bug. At least it just seems to be a display bug more than anything else.
Which bug?
The fact that you show as unready and you can't ready up and things like that.
Yeah.
Just seems to be a minor oversight.
Kind of an odd,
yeah, exactly.
Like an odd position.
Okay. Not ready, but I won't get ready any ready, or I won't get any readier, says Cubit. Alright, they're both going to be good to go then. Are you good to go?
Yep, I'm ready.
Alright, here we go. Oh. PP says wait. Oh, he's saving off the file. Maybe I should do that too. Hold on.
I'd like to see what can happen if someone really takes the time to like redo the broadcast with the replay. And take the time to actually pause the game. Look at that, like especially in that first game. This is a question of could Cubit have hit level 3 in time to grab that 4th water. Those questions can only really be answered if you are able to take the time with the replay file to pause the game and look at how much money someone had on hand.
Could be interesting to do. All right, PBHead's ready finally, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to game number 3 in this best of 5. So far, PBHead taking a nice lead, 2-0 in this series. Cubit's going to have to work hard to bring it back. and get us to a Game 4 and Game 5 if he wants a chance of winning in this one. Map's looking, once again, different from the other times. I'm seeing not a lot of carbon and a lot of iron available. Are you seeing anything different?
Yeah, and there's plenty of iron. There's not a good water spot for scientific. I know that PBHead seems to be favoring iron spot next to aluminum, and there's something like that near the colony, but it does not have an iron triangle.
Yeah.
So his current plan is not available on this map. Not a great map for scavenger either.
Yeah, I'm really reading expansive here. Again,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I see. But I've said that before, and these players still throw down scientific, so we'll just have to see what happens. But
sure. Yeah, if I knew more about that, I might be tempted to say robotic near the colony, near the iron and the aluminum, and
I don't
just
know.
beeline to level 5. But
you could, but I think they're still in a 1v1 situation. I think there's still enough water on the map to not get hurt by it. Cubit actually going to go ahead and go expansive.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that makes
PBHead
sense.
once again scientific.
Ooh boy, he could snipe that high aluminum though. I don't think he's going to get up to level 2. He should put that steel mill on the high aluminum. That
Yeah,
could be a big mistake.
don't agree with this play out of Cubit necessarily. I mean, throwing down is expansive. We can see that he's going to need 40 more steel, in fact, to try and push to that upgrade. Interestingly enough, PBHead is being late to his aluminum buy, and Cubit's trying to punish him for this, buying up as much aluminum as he can manage right now in order to keep PBHead back from hitting HQ level 2. So that's very interesting. I don't know if PBHead noticed that in time, maybe getting a little bit complacent, but PBHead he wants it.
Yeah.
There it is.
Do you think PBHead should have grabbed the high aluminum?
I think he should right now. I think he should have already sent it out there, but it looks like he has no
He's
interest in
not.
it, which means
Weird.
Cubit will go ahead and secure it.
Lucky
No
for
problem.
Cubit. Jeez, he could have almost lost the match right here at the beginning. I really
Yeah.
think that's what PBS should have done. He should have founded and grabbed that high aluminum right off the bat. I thought it was a huge mistake because you can always move your steel mills around. You know, take the tiles on level 1. Take the tiles that you know you absolutely need, and then you can rearrange stuff if you need it.
But the slight gamble definitely pays off for Cubit. I mean, he's able to, having not taken that high aluminum initially, means that
look
he
at
will
that.
be able to better move into his resources.
Wow,
Ooh,
did you see
yeah,
that
that is-
race for
uh-huh.
the other water?
That is a
I
big
couldn't
deal.
I couldn't tell who had the lead, but they got there so close.
But PBHead going to go ahead and be the one who comes out on top, it looks like.
No, on my screen, I see Cubit.
Oh, we're talking about for the second water?
Yeah, the second water.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Cubit does have it for the second water.
Yeah, Cubit was sending down a pump, and PBHead was sending a claim. And they got there basically simultaneously.
Yeah,
So I'm
PBHead
not
just a
even
little bit slow on his decision making there, I think.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how the game handles that situation.
That's really something that might be good to know at some point, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's basically scrambled based off of like the IDs of the units and something like that.
interesting.
So,
Wow, extra steel coming down for PB.
wow. Yeah, and not in a diamond either. I would have gone diamond. What do you think?
Well, I mean, iron is already kind of expensive is the thing right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he wants to be able to ignore that iron price. I feel like iron should be coming down eventually because Cubit has 2.5
Yeah.
extra iron
He's going
production
to be
right
tempted
now.
to sell that iron.
Yeah, he's almost certainly going to want to. But
If it creeps up near the price of steel, he'll just turn off the steel mills.
if PB had placed the steel in a diamond, he would have been far more susceptible to Cubit buying up iron, forcing the price higher, put himself into a bit of an awkward spot.
I don't know. That spot for a diamond could have led into a triangle somewhere else.
It's true.
I don't know. It's, debatable point.
All right. PB actually taking his Geo already this game. This is a bit awkward for him.
It's not normal play.
Yeah, he does not usually take power that early. That is a lot of steel being sent that direction.
Yeah, right now he's level 2 and he's all just purely into basically steel, aluminum, and some water.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the glass saved up, so he's fine there. But Cubit's already hit level 3.
More steel production this game? These guys are nuts. I mean, seriously. There was a power surge on a Cubit steel, so this guarantees he'll have a little bit of production for some time, but still.
Okay, he's going for the high silicon, which I think is a good move. And then he throws down 2 glass furnaces.
Yep.
Okay.
No big
That's-
surprise there
seems
for our
pretty solid.
expansive player.
I think it was huge that Cubit did get that medium water. If PBHead was sitting on those 2 waters right now,
Oh yeah, Cubit would be in all kinds of trouble. Cubit absolutely needed it. Both of them still vulnerable to things like mutinies, though. And
yep. steal the other person's, especially PBHead. You know, Cubit grabs that high water. He's just going to get a huge influx of water. Of course, right now water's $3.
Yeah, no
we
kidding.
talk about the importance of water, and at the same time, here comes a water surplus.
PBHead actually going ahead and moving into glass here. That's an interesting play to me. Okay, and finally a farm is going to come down for one of these two players. Food up at $105. The off-world price of it also $640. Interestingly enough.
Glass is not looking that great right now.
And yeah, glass just isn't looking too great.
It's expensive. Frankly, I'd start mining the silicon for a while first before I would even do that. I just grab the high silicon, start making some silicon, and then know I could eventually go into glass furnace once the price is, balance out a little bit more.
Pirates coming down is not what PB wants to see.
Yeah. The other thing about glass is there's so much silicon on this map. He's not in any hurry,
Yeah. I don't know.
I would think you'd want to go food somehow.
Yeah. There's always a risk when you stay out of an upgrade resource in particular. Those all-important aluminum, steel, and glass resources that allow you to continue to proceed through upgrades. That if you stay out of it and you don't make any of it for yourself, your opponent will simply drive that price sky high and make it very difficult for you to upgrade. So it's a slight risk if he stays out of glass, but glass is already very cheap. And on top of that, if you can simply shut down your opponent's alternate production, they won't have any cash unless they go ahead and sell that resource. And in this case, that would be very easy to do against Cubit. So maybe that would have been an option this game instead of going ahead and producing the resource himself.
Some weird stuff is going on. He does not have his third glass furnace down. I don't know if he forgot or... Okay, here it comes. He also, I mentioned food. He deleted his water pump on the high water and switched to food. That's...
Well, I mean,
water is worth nothing.
Water's worth
right
nothing,
now.
right?
So
the tile
it
is
does
still
make
making
sense.
$60 a second.
Yeah,
So.
it's just a type of move you don't see very often.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting that eventually he's going to have to delete that farm and switch it over to water. Although he could, I guess, eventually just...
I'd rather see him just build more farms.
Triangle farm right there.
Just why not? Build more farms, sure.
I mean, he's going to have to build farms somewhere. And the water will supply... You could even make an argument for putting a triangle of farms next to it and then switch that back to a water pump, because the water pump will supply 2 of those farms, which means he doesn't have to ship the water to the farms. And you're actually spending less fuel if you're shipping the food from the farms as opposed to the water. Because each freighter costs the same amount of fuel,
of course.
But one freighter carries 40 food, whereas one freighter can only carry 20 water.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Level 4 for both of these players. Both of them on very similar things right now. Looks like Cubit is going to make that strong move into food. That's going to be a ridiculous amount of money available to him shortly. But Cubit still at this point ignoring power completely. Oh, no, never mind. He has managed to secure Geotherm. It's just not online yet. But that's not going to be enough to cover his power costs. And he's going to keep having debt creep up. Another Geotherm coming out. I think Cubit just wants to be contrary to everything I say.
PBHead's moved hard into water. Drop down a triangle of electrolysis on just a medium water. Just going to have to start buying water. And then a water pump. The water pump should ship water directly from the water pump to those electrolysis reactors. Mm-hmm. So he shouldn't have to spend too much. See, you see it going right now. You see that water going from the water pump to the electrolysis reactor. I spent a lot of time trying to improve the transportation code in beta 3. Right. So hopefully these type of plays will actually pay off in this patch.
I am kind of curious. Well, we can talk about that later, I suppose. There's a claim auction going up right now. This is going to be pretty valuable to both players. Very, very similar stock prices. Similar as equal.
I was just going to comment on that.
So both of them can afford maybe a very similar amount of debt here.
This would go to 32,000 easily.
Yeah, I think it really should. Yep, 24,000 already. I do kind of expect the 32,000 here, but Cubit may not feel the need to push for it. Oh, there it is.
PBHead could get a third solar panel up by those these 2 already. Cubit could get a farm diamond.
4th farm, yeah.
That's what I would go for.
All kinds of reasonable things to go on right there. PBHead is going to add to his solar panels, it looks like.
Go for the 3rd solar panel. I mean, it's at almost $200.
Ooh, interesting thing happening here. This silicon shortage.
Definitely
working out.
Or delete those. Oh, PBHead was quick on that one.
Yeah.
Nice work on that.
Yeah, and Cubit did have his glass shut off, at least.
Turned off his glass. Do you think he should delete them?
Absolutely. Move into reactors. Sure, why not? Although, Cubit instead is using the claims he's just had sitting around from just hitting HQ level 5 to move into reactors himself, so maybe he doesn't need to delete them immediately.
Delete them, build power.
But yeah, I mean, he could just build Solar panels, sure, why not? I mean, well, not solar panels.
You have to pay that silicon price for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just dropped wind
No, that's what
turbines.
you did. You just went for solar power.
I mean, it's fine, right? It's just expensive. And he actually also freezes out PB's silicon production. So he's trying to make sure that despite the fact that he has driven that silicon price high, he's going to drop a power surge onto PB's silicon and try to gather up enough to knock the price back down before PBHead can get in there before him.
He could benefit from the silicon. So one of the odd little things people don't comment much about the EMP is when you hit a building with the EMP, it will immediately ship. So in kind of a bizarre way, PBHead actually got his silicon earlier than he would have with the EMP.
Yeah, but such a small quantity.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand that, but like it's more like you're hurting the player farther down the road than you might be realizing. Because the question is, how long will silicon stay high?
Yeah,
so whatever silicon Cubit gets, he should sell, I believe, immediately.
Well, of course, both players right now, they should be selling every last silicon they acquire while that price is still so high, and while both of them are generating so much of it.
Yeah, and that looks like that is what PBHead did when he did get the silicon that was available to him.
Interestingly enough, one claim left for PB. Look at his claims right now, where he's placed all of his buildings.
I would put it right that spot between the two sets of chemical labs just cried out for me. You get a 4 times bonus.
Well, there's also potentially a spot available once again for PB for a farm up in that up where his high water was earlier, things of that nature. That's
a good location too. Either one of those things are very viable. The thing is, Cubit is not in chemicals at all, so I expect that price to stay very solid.
Yeah, and Cubit is in fuel, so
it's the most valuable pure building on the map right now. Just in terms of like one building, how much it's making. A base chemical lab right now is making $100 a second for you.
Yeah. Important thing to point out here is Cubit has managed to push into 2 Offworld markets being constructed.
Wow.
Definitely trying to make use of that expansive bonus. Especially because he's not against a scavenger player. This may work out in a 1v1. The basic idea behind why you wouldn't want to go for 2 Offworld markets, especially for newer players, is because you've got 1 point of vulnerability if you just build 1 Offworld market. You can consistently defend it, your opponent will never successfully attack it as long as you continue to purchase Goon Squads, your defensive black market unit, in order to defend it. But if you go for 2 Offworld markets, you will absolutely not be able to defend both of them consistently. Your opponent will be able to successfully attack you in one location or the other, as long as they can figure out which one they should be hitting.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting move. You see the underground nuke on the high water that was on top of the farm? Yeah,
that's a little weird.
I mean, it's funny. I was just looking at thinking how PBHead should actually switch that to a water pump because he'd be making a lot more money off of it. High water right now is $200 a second and going up, whereas the farm is about $100. I wonder if Cubit has something in mind for water long term. I mean, he has his electrolysis reactors actually off, even though they are profitable.
Yeah, like, just being super careful with that water price, it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm really nervous for PB at this stage.
Water? He's not, well, whatever. He's not really hacker rate, but I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. If he can just keep shipping those off-world markets off. He's got what? PBHead has sitting on a Goon Squad. Goon Squads are at 30,000, which is a bit out of the reach of Cubit, probably. But he has 1 off-world market protected.
Wow, PB wasn't expecting that. Runs into a Goon Squad trying to EMP down the farm.
Wow, that is something.
Yeah, that is something else right there.
That is something. I mean, it totally makes sense why he had the Goon Squad there at one point. It just blows up in PBHead's face. Cubit must be laughing.
Yeah, Cubit going to be super happy with that one. 57% of the way to the buyout at this point. I don't see an edge for PB to claw back into this game. Even the chem production, not all that strong.
He needs to mutiny those off-worlds. That's his best shot, I would think.
I would agree with that.
Cubit bought a mutiny, probably for no other reason than just to drive up the price.
PB had PB doesn't look like he even wants to try and get to an off-world. There's the 100% and the red button for Cubit, though.
All right. Congratulations to Cubit. That was a good game.
Yep, that's going to be game 3 over to Cubit, and we have an actual series going on.
Yep.
Wow, both of them have already left.
they're chomping a bit. I'm going to step out for just 1 second, but you can go ahead and do it.
All right.
You can watch the game
we can do that. Okay. Let's take a look at Black Market that game, folks. Just taking one last look before we move on to game number 4. As we can see, Only 5 purchases out of PBHead against an expansive player that might be a little bit low. Expansive's far more vulnerable than the scientific that we've classically been seeing so far this series. And so maybe just a bit of a misplay out of PB not finding the cash to really commit over toward that Offworld or toward that black market play he's going to need in order to counter the Offworlds, things of that nature. Cubit going for less claim purchases than in any other game, likely partially because he's an expansive player. He had plenty available to him already. He managed to push through upgrades much more effectively this game, got a strong found for expansive and kept on moving. 4 goon squads purchased for his Offworld markets in particular that game, so a lot of defensive play out of Cubit. Not a lot of aggressive play against his scientific opponent. No big surprise there. And let's go ahead and check resources. We can see, let's look at PB first, falling out of the game a bit quickly this time, only making about $140,000, having to purchase up a fair amount of aluminum, still having to purchase up a fair amount of steel. This is despite having both of these productions, also purchasing a lot of oxygen and fuel for his glass and chem production, which kind of bolstered Cubit's reactors, as oxygen and fuel were already expensive when PB had started consuming them. Only making a very small amount of money in chems, very small amount of money in food, despite the fact that food was so high that time. Just not really successfully getting to anywhere for PBHead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like Cubit is at his best, strangely enough, for a 2-player when he's really not worrying about the other players so much.
Definitely.
It's just focused on upgrading, get to those Offworld markets. Felt like in the first couple of games he was spending a lot of time thinking about PBHead, and this time I think this game I feel like he was focusing more on just himself.
Exactly.
And it really paid off.
Cubit doesn't seem to do well if you can manage to knock him off kilter, if you can get him off his game plan. And, I mean, that's true of all players, but Cubit in particular shines when he's on his own, when he can just invest in himself and keep upgrading. PB, I think, does a little better job of going ahead and playing against an opponent who's doing an awkward thing, of disrupting his opponent, of interrupting what they're up to, especially when he can get his favorite scavenger class down. But not quite good enough that game, apparently, to interrupt Cubit with his massive expansive train that just kept on rolling. Interestingly enough, by the way, I just want to point out, Cubit lost money on World.
Really?
Yeah, he actually lost $1,000 on World, and all of his profits came from the Offworlds that game, so that was just an interesting little detail to me. I'll go ahead and get the next game hosted.
Well, it's great to see so many people watching the finals.
Yep.
Because the 10 a.m. game can be kind of all over the place, whereas these are very good games being played right now.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, it's PBHead and Cubit.
Yeah.
This is just what you expect from these two.
Mm-hmm.
You have fans in chat. Oh, man. I just wish it wasn't happening so early so I could be a little bit more awake for this, but that's my issue. Okay. PBHead's ready. Just waiting on Cubit then. Let's see. Okay. I really have no idea how this series is going to play out after that. I mean, PBHead with a couple of really strong wins early on.
And it felt like he was doing pretty good that game. I almost kind of need to look at that game over again and figure out what happened.
Yeah, well, I think the steel mill was maybe a mistake. It wasn't doing a whole lot. Like, just a few misclaims here and there. I really didn't like the chems at the end of the game. I didn't really like the glass play either. I mean, there were a few just various things there that...
That silicon shortage probably really...
Yeah, it also was a big boost right there, that silicon shortage on over to Cubit, because PBHead maybe didn't play around it correctly.
I mean, that's the one advantage of the non-scientific players is you will have those raw resources lying around from time to time, and you can take advantage of those shortages where the scientific player is just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. At least, definitely not as quickly. I mean, PBHead tried. He moved on into those, but not enough to get things done. All right, both of them are ready to go.
Yeah.
I assume you're still ready.
Yeah, as PBHead mentioned, the whole water tree went crazy that game. I suspect
definitely.
That's where a lot of what happened came down to.
Yeah, I think if PBHead had maybe made the decision a bit earlier to move into that medium water tile, we would have seen a very different game because he would have actually successfully gotten those adjacency bonuses. All right.
All right. Should we go?
They both said they're ready. I'm trusting them. Hello everyone and welcome to game number 4 in this best of 5 series between PBHead and Cubit. First two going over to PBHead with strong wins, but Cubit coming back in the third game, not wanting to go on out 3-0. He's going to push through and see if he can bring this series back for the win with some decent expansive play, interestingly enough, in game number 3.
Well, PBHead sticks to his strategy. I would expect to see him down in the lower right, where you got plenty of iron and you got a couple aluminum next to each other.
Also close to silicon and water. So,
or maybe in the far west, you got a similar situation, but you got better aluminum. Although you'd be kind of like stuck in a corner.
You're cramped in a corner up against the edge of the map with craters on two sides. That would be a little bit difficult to use, I think. I think you were right with your first call that PBHead, if he does what we've been seeing all tournament long,
he would also be
dropping
on
in this corner.
Dry ice, which for some reason people often don't think about, but it can be useful if carbon goes crazy.
Well, dry ice, a bit of a rare occurrence in Offworld Trading Company. You do not see it often, so it can be a little bit difficult to remember that you can drop some dry ice condensers on these special tiles and pull in carbon and oxygen from nowhere out of the ground. So a useful thing to keep an eye on. Yep.
PBHead went right where we expected. He also has some decent silicon nearby him, good water. I mean, it just looks like a good scientific location.
Yep. Cubit actually going to take the other spot as an expansive player. Very reasonable thing to do. He is up against those craters still, which will block off some of his territory, and as an expansive, that's not really what you're looking for.
Right.
But that's not going to matter until significantly later in the game when he actually runs out of space.
Yeah, he is forced to build 2 metal mines because it's only a medium. But I guess he's going to probably need them anyway, so...
Yeah, no different from last game, really, where he did build 2 iron mines, 2 aluminum mines, but this game, PB definitely with a strong lead up to HQ level 2 that he did not have last game. However, Cubit, he's going to have that extra claim, having founded second.
Right.
And also just slightly less debt. PBHead sitting on about 18,000.
Did he get down to 0? I guess there was maybe a tiny bit of debt. I
think he got all the way down to 0. He's only sitting on about 1,300 right now. It's close enough so as to not matter effectively.
Interesting, PBS is going for the silicon quarry this time instead of the glass furnace.
Well, high silicon tile. No big surprise. I mean, it's not a lot of cash yet, but still kind of nice to have secured, given that there is almost no silicon on this map, and you know your opponent is going to want to get a hold of that if he can.
Expansive colony expanded.
All right,
yeah,
finally,
that's true.
sells
That's
down
sort
the
of a
steel.
hate claim, I would say, for sure. In fact, I'd be tempted to take the medium as well. I'd rather put my glass triangle there and force Cubit to go for those ugly low silicons all the way on the east side of the map.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing to consider is this is a very flat map, so there's going to be very few good wind tiles, and I only see also 1 geotherm. So there's going to have to be a lot of solar.
A lot of solar panels, exactly. That's exactly right.
And that geotherm also becomes a very interesting tile. It's I don't like grabbing geotherms if they're all the way across the other side of the map for me. Because you wouldn't think it matters because it's power, but if they get destroyed, it can take forever to rebuild them.
Yeah, I agree. I almost certainly would not want that tile as PBHead this game, especially because there's just 1 geotherm. You're going to probably have to build extra power on top of that anyway eventually. It's maybe not what you're looking for. 32,000 claim over to PBHead. Finally, they sort that out. I mean, I understand it. He's already going to be down in claims due to founding first and being scientific, so he's going to go ahead and press into this, and he actually takes the other silicon tile.
PBHead grabbed it.
Yep, I like it.
I don't know if you noticed, but Cubit was going to grab that medium silicon. And I don't know if PBHead noticed that or not, but he sent out a claim flag just to grab it and basically screw up Cubit's attempt to grab it. he didn't even necessarily know what he was doing. He claimed with the claim flag, then sent a glass furnace and changed his mind to switch back to a quarry.
Yeah.
I would think he should maybe start switching those over to a glass furnace. So
I think he's just building up a stockpile for solar panels, perhaps, that sort of thing later on.
Yeah, that's true. He's going to have to go solar panels. He's nowhere near any wind, and he's miles from the geotherm. So, but I'm curious if he actually saw the quarry headed to the medium, and that's why he grabbed it when he did.
HQ level 3 already for PB.
Interesting enough, the new claims is still 4,000. No one has bought one yet. They're starting to listen to you, I guess.
Well, maybe they realized that when they bought less claims, they won more games. I don't know, it's just a thought.
So, I actually have this question for you. Do you feel like the black market should start at 4,000 or 3,000 in a two-player game?
I don't know. In a two-player game, it always feels like I always feel like at the start of the game, no matter what the black market price is, no matter what the map is almost, I have no money to spend on it, right? There's no way I can use it. So I'm always kind of looking for a lower black market price, I guess. And in a 1v1, maybe if it started a bit lower, we'd see a bit more activity in the black market. Because I think that's a consistent thing we've seen these past few games, is without a scavenger player in it, and especially if a scientific player is in it, you're just not getting a lot of black market activity because...
Yeah. And it's kind of, black market to me makes it more interesting. So I actually have made a change just recently where for just the 2 and the 3-player game, it keeps track of black market purchases separately so that if you buy an EMP, the price will go up for everyone, but it'll go up more for the player who bought the EMP. Just sense. For those 2 or 3-player games, so that if there's one player has a lead, they can't just use that lead to take advantage of the black market.
I like it.
It's not really an issue once you get past 4 players, in my opinion.
This is really interesting. This shortage is delaying Cubit's upgrade. Note how he still hasn't hit HQ level 3. And I actually want to talk on something from 1 day ago in game time while we wait for this pirate auction to play out and go up to the 32,000 it will. Is PBHead doing his, once again, very aggressive moves in the market earlier this game. When Cubit was stuck on HQ level 1 with no steel production, PBHead was sitting on 3 steel a second. But instead of selling it, he simply purchased all of it up, drove that steel price, I believe, close to $100, forcing Cubit to absolutely pay through the nose to go ahead and get to HQ level 2. And we can see the kind of impact this has had on Cubit throughout the game. He is so late to HQ level 3 compared to PB, who is now shipping in, I believe, enough glass that he will be able to push to HQ level 4 momentarily if he wants to. He's got the button. There it is. Cubit just hit 3 and PB's already on 4. This is what I'm talking about with controlling those resources.
Oh, that's smart. You have a 2-player, you want to watch the resources your opponent doesn't have. Driving those prices up, it makes a difference. It's hard to see it demonstrated in front of you, but it makes a difference. They both went to carbon right at the exact same time.
Carbon shortage came through, so that's no big surprise. It's up at $53 right now.
That price crashed pretty fast. But PBI transitioned those tiles into
chems, electronics, the usual.
Those are both looking pretty crappy right now, but still.
Another interesting thing that has happened is that PBHead still has a decent silicon stockpile built up of 200 after building his solar panels due to having so much silicon production down earlier. And silicon's up at $66 right now. He's just holding that silicon price high to try and force Cubit away from glass so he can get control of that glass market as he can ignore that silicon cost. So once again, just PB really making use of his money, trying to knock his opponent around with it rather than just having it sit there in funds or in a more useless resource like steel.
I think one of PBHead's best traits to make him a good offer player is his patience. Like a lot of players could not resist seeing 200 silicon at $69, right? That's over $10,000 right there.
Exactly. And I think he's trying to force...
again.
Is he actually going to force his opponent? Okay, Cubit has sent out silicon quarries, it looks like. They're headed to this silicon because silicon was $60. PB had then sold out, so it's down to $40. I'm wondering if Cubit's going to let these sail on through all the way across the map. That's ridiculous. Those tiles will not be good for anything other than silicon. I would not want to take them if I was Cubit. But he's going to let them go through, despite the fact that silicon's down to $40 now. That's an interesting move. PBHead just kind of forcing Cubit that direction by knocking around the silicon price more and more.
Yeah, and then he sold all the silicon.
Exactly.
As soon as he saw Cubit commit to that. It's funny. I see that now, and I kind of wish that he actually put his solar panels on top of those silicon, because that's it, right? Like those are the PBHead. I'm saying. I wish PBHead actually put those solar panels on top of the silicon, because that's basically the only silicon on this whole map.
I don't know. I'd almost want to make my opponent claim those tiles so he has 2 claims that he can't do anything else with. Then try to control the silicon market, which can be a bit awkward sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the silicon market in particular is just kind of a weird one in this game.
Yeah.
Another claim auction. This is nice for PB. Not seeing too many pirates this game is scientific.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to see...
I mean, what I would have thought, if he had grabbed those silicon tiles for his solar panels, which would have been totally viable, because it doesn't really matter where they are, build a hacker array and just start hacking silicon. You either make a lot of money for yourself, or you totally screw Cubit out of glass. One or the other.
It's true. Both of those are definite options. And PBHead not going for either one. I guess that doesn't surprise me too much. PBHead, he'll be very aggressive in the market when it comes to buying and selling resources. But he hasn't been using the hacker array so much after its nerfs a couple of patches ago.
Interesting move with the 2 chemical labs, while still leaving up his 2 quarries.
Yeah, he's going to get rid of those quarries momentarily, I think. He was just kind of waiting it out. No big surprise there. In this game, I like this a lot better, this move into chems from PB than last game. First of all, he's going to have adjacency bonuses, right? All important in this game to have your buildings be adjacent to each other. Also, he already has fuel production, so he's not just simply handing money over to Cubit by consuming fuel in order to make chemicals. Instead, he's going to be able to supply that himself far more easily, and it's not going to be so much of an issue. PBHead already getting aggressive in stock this game. Looks like he has no interest in moving to an off-world.
Yeah. As far as Cubit, you gotta grab either the EMP or the powers, which knock out one of those farm or reactor clusters.
Yeah, he has hit the farm with the power surge at once this game, but...
Yeah. All 4 of those tiles are making around $100. The price is starting to go down a little bit, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that PBHead decided to just go for the kill on Cubit rather than constructing an off-world this game. The off-world not too expensive, only about 50,000. He's really relying very hard on these water resources.
So much off of those secondary water. I mean, if you look at those 8 tiles, they're probably making $600 or $700 a second for him.
Yeah.
Which, if you do the math, right, like that's every what would it be? Every 30 seconds is a share of Cubit.
Yeah,
right?
and the chemicals are also pulling in like 500
right
on their own as well. So that's an interesting thing to note. Wow, an EMP once again gets blocked by a goon squad by Cubit. That's a big deal.
He shouldn't have gone for the solar power. Unless just PBHead out of debt? No, PBHead's $200,000 in debt. Why did he try to go for the solar panels?
Well, I think Cubit, that was just... Yeah, I don't really know. I don't understand attacking the power here. Yeah, power is a good resource. Cubit might be just trying to hold that power price up for himself, as he is generating some power, but I don't think he's generating enough for it to make a serious difference.
He should have hit the chems.
I agree. Should have hit the chems with the EMP.
Or maybe the farm, because it's closer. But one or the other.
Yeah. I think I would have liked the chems, but yeah, not a good idea to attack power when you're attacking an opponent who is trying to kill you, because it does nothing to slow down that process. When all you're trying to do is survive to get your off-world market constructed, you really need to worry more about your opponent's cash reserves than making them pile up just a bit more debt over time. Because if they succeed, their debt hasn't mattered all game long. I mean, PBHead's debt has not come into play yet this game.
Yeah, he's got intense amounts of debt, but... So Cubit is building the off-world. I guess why not, right? I mean, PBHead stock price is not fantastic.
I think it's the right call. Cubit absolutely has to build that off-world.
What else are you going to do? But he's got to figure out a way. The power surge is only $6,000. That $6,000 would cost... If he hit those chems, it would cost PBHead how much money?
Okay, PBHead constructed an off-world.
Oh, he did?
Good.
Oh, he's building one.
Yeah, he's building one. It's going to be a little bit later than Cubit's, but I think that was the right call. Obviously, I think it should have happened a long time ago. But
he just responded to Cubit's move. He must have had to buy a ton of electronics.
Yeah, I think he absolutely did have to buy a ton of electronics.
Which does help Cubit out quite a bit. Those electronic factories, boy, if they could just be rearranged a little bit.
Another thing to note, PBHead still has these glass furnaces running right now. They're making money, but what if they were silicon quarries? I mean, Cubit This silicon price is up to
yeah.
$127
Okay.
right now.
High silicon core right now make you $250 a second.
Exactly. I mean, and that's not counting adjacency either. So
yeah, where the glass furnace with adjacency is making 75.
All right, PB going ahead and nuking out Cubit's Goon Squad. It's the downside of putting the Offworld on top of a resource, is it can be nuked to clear those goons.
I thought of changing that rule, so basically you can't, if you have special building on a resource, you can't nuke it, but I hate special case rules.
Forget that. I think that's silly, but
it's just kind of awkward either way.
Yeah.
I can't make up my mind. You know, because it's definitely one of those things that's just like a little thing in the pocket of an advanced player that they know to do that, and new players don't, and they put their buildings there and they don't realize. But at the same time, I hate special case rules.
Yeah. Well, PB's stock price finally coming into play. Cubit has enough cash to start buying into PB's stock, going ahead and developing his own kind of...
I mean, each time he buys, it's going to raise his own stock price.
Exactly.
I mean, this is PBHead's game to lose still, but it's not.
I don't know. Cubit has held on. Cubit's gotten into 2 Offworlds.
That electronics price, I mean, each of those purchases drives up the price of electronics significantly. Each of those Offworlds.
Exactly. But it also drives up the price on food, quite likely. Is that what these players are sending? And that's going to go into PBHead's favor.
That power surge is still $6,000. Buy the power surge, put it on those farms.
Both players playing very defensively. They didn't really store up any black market ahead of getting into this Offworld game, and now basically all of their purchases are going into dealing with the Offworlds. This is such a close game. Cubit's really managed to pull it back with getting these Offworlds constructed. Still 1 more minute until the second one is online, or actually gets a send off. But he's managed to acquire 4 PB
He's making
stock.
more from those farms than he is from Offworld shipments, because those 4 farms are making 800 a second.
Right.
Do the math. That comes out to maybe 55,000 every minute, which is
pretty close to an Offworld shipment.
More than a launch, considering that what you're shipping Offworld.
All right, there goes PB's Offworld, but he's scientific. He'll repair that in about 30 seconds and have it launching again, but it's still a big deal to get a hit as Cubit on your opponent's Offworld. It should also be noted that Cubit's original Offworld no longer defended, but his second one is. And so PBHead, he's going to have to just take a guess and see which one Cubit's defended if he chooses to attack them.
PBHead is now switching to have 8 farms.
This dust storm
got rid of his reactors. I assume that's because the price is he shipping food. Oh man, see that's
they've all been shipping food.
That's the correct counter move here. PBHead is essentially taking advantage of the fact that Cubit is shipping food Offworld. Like at some point, he may want to consider some other option, maybe oxygen, just to prevent sending money directly into PBHead's pocket.
Yeah, a big deal though is that PBHead did not guess correctly on the Goon Squad. He did run it into Cubit's Offworld, and so the dynamite got turned right back around on PB. His Offworld got knocked down. Stock selling going on right now. I don't know who did that exactly. PB... Oh! Cubit going to take the game. Offworld sends... Nanotech coming in huge right there. It was a Nanotech play. Look, his Offworlds are deleted right now. He spent just a little bit of debt to get Nanotech earlier when it came up in an auction, just scrapped both of them for those electronics to go ahead and push through to the victory after an Offworld send goes off. Strong play out of Cubit at the end of that game.
That's a Hail Mary play right there.
Yep.
If you fall short, oh man.
I feel so bad for PB though. That dust storm, I think that killed him. If it didn't come through, he might have been able to hold on, but the dust storm affecting all of his food production.
Wow, I really want to watch the end of that again. I mean, PBHead, Cubit was coming back, but PBHead was...
I did not like PBHead's commitment. What was that?
Did you see his percentage?
Which percentage? PBHead's or Cubit's?
How close PBHead was buying Cubit?
PBHead wasn't... he was still, I think, hovering around 70% when I last checked it. It was getting there. But he needed that Offworld shipment to go off. I think the entire game really turned on that dynamite. If the dynamite had hit appropriately, I think PB took it. But because he gave 2 dynamites, I think, over to Cubit, or at least 2 black market effects over to Cubit, and then was getting attacked himself the whole time, it just didn't quite pan out.
Wow. That's a game right there.
I don't know. PBHead, look, he went for the kill. And then he stopped going for the kill, right? He didn't have that full commitment to the play that he was making, and if he wasn't willing to commit to it,
if he kept he kept at it.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
might have been able to.
He got 8 shares. He was making more from those farms than he was making off-world.
But realistically, I think if he had just made the safe play and built the off-world initially, then trying to go for the kill, if he had just played it safe, built the off-world first,
look at it
he would have been all right.
Considering, think of how many resources PB had dedicated to building the off-world and then repairing it twice.
Yeah.
If he had instead sold those resources, I am pretty sure he would have had enough money to buy Cubit.
It's quite possible he would have pushed a lot closer. The Offworld did still make money that game. I mean, it got 2 launches off. We just needed to see maybe that one more from PB to push through to victory. But Cubit getting off 6 Offworld launches is a really big deal.
Was PB shipping food?
Yeah, both players were shipping food that game.
Yeah, I know it was expensive, but food was selling for so much on world.
Well, yeah, but was anything actually up at that ridiculous food price, though? Because that was some of the
what
highest
I would
off-world
have liked to
prices we ever
see
see.
from PBHead in that situation instead of building that off-world market. And this is a really difficult play. I would have instead built a hacker array and started shorting food. Because Cubit has the off-world market. His only chance to win is shipping food off-world. He's not going to be able to make enough of it by himself. He's in a position to make a ton of food. He should have shorted food and just kept selling it.
Mm-hmm.
And he had 8 shares. That is so close.
Yeah, very awkward.
Amazing game. I don't know what I think of that whole nanotech thing. I wish I could kind of turn that off because it definitely is also just kind of one of those weird, awkward strategies, like nuking a goon squad on an off-world market.
I like it.
You like the nanotech selling
Obviously.
everything?
Sheesh, come on. A last-ditch effort to try and push through, just scrap all your stuff and go for the win. I love it. It's fantastic. But
it just seems so gamey,
It is so gamey. Playing a game here. It happens sometimes. It's fine. But I really think that PB, he just didn't have that cohesive strategy in the end game, though, and I think that is what killed him. No matter what Cubit was doing, PB had such a great lead. I think you're right. If he had pushed into a hacker array, it would have been a much faster kind of return on investment, much cheaper to get into initially. Could have hacked food. If he had pushed into the off-world sooner, he could have made that happen, but he didn't quite commit completely into either one of these strategies, and I think it's what took him out of the game.
Yeah. He was making a killing on world. Hacker array is just a great way to double down on it.
Exactly.
You're on your way to winning. Hacker array is just going to ensure that you keep that demand up, keep making the money, and end it. All right, let's get that last lobby out.
Yep.
Game 5.
And yes, that does mean game 5 for people. So Cubit has pulled it back in 2-2 right now.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the most entertaining games I think I've seen of Offworld.
PBHead says he feels like he gave away the game a bit. I totally agree with him. Huge mistakes out of PBHead that he usually wouldn't have made.
No mercy from Zoltar in the assessment.
Well, I mean, he knows it, and I'll tell the truth. I mean, I can be nice to people, or I can be honest.
Yeah, I think what I may do is that, and maybe if you just had that when you delete a building, it may have a bit of a cooldown while you're doing the deletion, and that the cooldown is longer depending upon how big the building is. But I don't know. Apparently, I'm the only person complaining, so I've got other things to work on.
Jake O'Driscoll with the question in chat: if you sell your off-worlds, does your stock price go down? You stop having that expensive building? I don't think so because you have the resources still.
Yeah, it just
stored up.
Transfers one to the other.
Yeah, exactly. Man, still. I think PBHead got complacent with Cubit. Can't do that. Cubit's still a strong player. Can't
I thought
get
the game was
complacent.
over.
The game should have been over. I think it was just big mistakes out of PB there at the end.
All right, are they ready? Oh, because we got to be right back.
Yeah, Cubit's... He's using the restroom. He'll be back in a minute here, so we have a little bit longer to...
All right, well, this is what you hope for
things.
when you organize a tournament. You get that 5th game. I mean, it would have been over already if it was best of 3. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it were best of 3, 2-0, PB would have been right on out of here. But best of 5, you got to hold on for all 5 games potentially. Oh yeah, and Uran pointing out Team 8, not unbeatable. Cubit taking down PBHead despite that Team 8 advantage. Man, I have coffee in front of me. I need to fix that. No, we're going to avoid that this time, Gypsy Prince, if we can. Although the keyboard has recovered quite nicely. This is one of the few gifts I have when it comes to technology. It just works around me. I think my 0 button sticks, and that's the only thing left over from that incident. Okay. Well, me too. That might have been... Well, is Cubit back? Okay, Cubit's back. We won't talk about the things going on in chat right now, because I can answer those questions later if people show up to my streams in the future. Stop winning is expensive.
I'm gonna figure out how to, buff poor scientific today.
Oh, you. Come on. We've seen scientific win some games here.
Only against other scientific.
Shh.
They cannot win. No one can seem to figure it out.
I win games as scientific. Don't blame poor scientific for PB's misplay there. All right, they're both good to go. I assume you're good to go?
Yep, I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
Game 5. Let's get on into it.
Wait, hold on. Just realized I did not save the replay. That's one I definitely want to save. Okay.
All right.
Not ready.
Hello everyone and welcome to Game 5 of our Best of 5 series between Cubit and PBHead for the second Offworld Tournament Finals. This one gonna finally be the decider after PB takes the first 2 and Cubit comes right back for 2 wins in games 3 and 4. Another map, PB not getting to really play his scavenger this series at all, just none of these maps providing a whole lot of carbon. But it looks like there is a lot of iron available, and we'll just have to see what these two can manage to accomplish with the other 3 colonies.
Yep, looks like there are 2 iron spots for 2 players.
Yeah.
I definitely expect that's where people will be found. Although there is that medium carbon up north with a third carbon. You could make that work. I did this before once where I went to 4 carbon tiles and then transitioned 2 of them back to something else later. It is doable, but
it can work. It's just so awkward though.
Yeah, I mean, I love that one. I love that iron spot. I'm surprised no one's done it already. That scientific spot in the south, because you're right by all that water.
Scientific colony found.
Whoa. PBHead goes to the other one.
Cubit founding robotic.
Start manufacturing cubes.
All right. Let's see what happens now. This is an interesting play out of Cubit. I don't think robotic is as bad as most people think it is.
Yep.
But personally, I favor science. Look at this. Both players immediately purchasing aluminum. I think PBHead hit it first, but...
Who's going to get that one high aluminum? There's one high aluminum way at the top of the map. It's funny. I'm just surprised Cubit didn't go scientific. He's buying all that water. And boy, there's not a lot of water left on this map either.
You're surprised? I thought scientific was weak and needed some buffs. I mean, come on.
Well, it's a good scientific spot straight up, right? Oh, okay. Like, what else do you want? A big clump of iron and a big clump of water?
I actually wouldn't have founded any colony down there, though, is the thing.
Is it so far from everything else?
It's so far from everything else. Once again, you're right up against the edge of the map. He does not have room for all of his adjacency bonuses that he might want potentially.
Silicon is going to be a problem. I expect we're going to see some ice condensers. I actually, now the more time I think about it, really think someone should have gone scavenger in the ice fields, buy those carbons. You buy the aluminum, You're going to have all the water you need. Water is very scarce on this map, and frankly, all the silicon's up in the ice too. I think that's the right place to found.
I love watching how far away this aluminum is.
Fuel is going to be crazy on
Well,
this map.
remember, one of them's robotic this game, so power is going to
that's
be a
only
bit of a
power.
mess this one.
If he just gets enough power, he'll be fine.
Cold fusion, though. And if PB's going to take it.
Cold fusion.
Cold fusion.
Wow.
Oh, man. PB, he pulled one of my moves that game. He saw an auction come up. He wanted some extra thinking time. He just takes that initial bid. Oh, PB. All right, let's see what happens. For now, it's a benefit. For now, it's good.
Yeah, he better get some ice condensers, because that's the worst thing about this map. There's hardly any water
anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
There's no water anywhere.
What, if you're Cubit, do you go for hacker array at this point and just start driving up the price of water?
I
guess?
would.
'Cause
HQ level 3 hacker
why
array?
not?
Sure, why not?
He's got all that water next to him. Just claim that water, start hacking water.
Something I love this game right now, by the way. It's a small thing, especially with the recent robotic buff where they don't consume so many electronics anymore. PBHead's just keeping all of his spare money in electronics right now. Just driving that price up. Just like,
Sure.
a little more.
It's like an investment. It's a long-term derivative, is that right? Or future? He's buying the future in electronics, sort of.
Well, and it's also just for the time being. Cubit still has to keep consuming it, and so if PBHead just kind of keeps putting money into it, keeps buying up those electronics, it'll drive that price up, and Cubit just gets a bit more debt.
Yeah.
Every moment as that happens.
PBHead grabbed those two waters, two low waters. I would think I would totally crumble if I was Cubit right now. I'm sorry, if I was PBHead right now, because he's got to be just terrified of power.
Absolutely.
And even with those two low waters, like, he's not going to have enough to supply his food and oxygen and fuel.
Right.
Like, it's so ironic, Cubit went for robotic, and almost the worst thing that could have happened for PB happened, and that he accidentally got cold fusion.
He accidentally got cold fusion.
I should mention that in Beta 4, Water Engine and Cold Fusion will be changing so that the game will automatically switch to buy the least expensive resource, whether it's energy or water.
Underground nuke. I love it. Underground nuke out of Cubit.
Water?
On water.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Brilliant play.
It's fantastic.
Of course, it's not quite so bad. He can switch those to ice. In fact, if you got a triangle of ice, he'd probably be making more than he was making with the two low waters. But I still like the idea. I still like the idea there.
Yeah.
And of course, he's scientific, so he can also just transition those to farms or whatever. But still, pretty interesting play. I don't know. PBS's in a bad place, but I don't necessarily see Cubit starting to take advantage of it right now.
Cubit did hit HQ level 3 first. I mean, that's something. I mean, he is robotic, right? He'd better be hitting HQs first.
And the medium water went up for auction. So how much did Cubit bid on this? This is going to go for a lot.
This is going to go for a lot more than we usually see a medium water auction go for, that's for sure.
I could see this hit 40,000. Both of them have pretty good stock prices.
This is ridiculous, though. 32,000.
I would bid if I was Cubit.
I probably would too, but that's how I lose myself games sometimes. I love this also, by the way. PBHead has made a tile claim right next to Cubit's HQ on water, which is going to put Cubit into even more of an awkward spot trying to get adjacency bonuses going and trying to get his buildings set up the way he wants to. I absolutely love that out of PB. That's such a PB play. It's just so aggressive against your opponent. As aggressive as you can get in a game like Offworld Trading.
I'm not surprised he went for that. I was actually just thinking of mentioning that before he grabbed it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's going to be desperate for water. He's just got to get those tiles.
Still, though, that's just hilarious to me.
I mean, the main thing here is PBHead has to figure out a way to make Cold Fusion work for him. Like, there are good things about Cold Fusion if you can get the water. So, and right now, it's
working just fine, right?
So far, it's been a net benefit for PBHead. Like, we keep talking about the bad position he's in, but he's only in a bad position if Cubit figures out a way to take advantage of it.
Yeah. I also want to point out, Cubit's consuming, like, an extra... I want to say... Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. Interesting little power surge by PB. Sorry, distracted me. Cubit's consuming a lot of extra power from these freighters being so far away. I think an entire power a second right now. And we haven't even seen his silicon get established yet. So that's going to be, what, 2 power a second away from Cubit? And he just doesn't have the power online to stop his debt from creeping up so high.
So that's the other interesting thing about this, because one of the great things about cold fusion is
Scientific
PBHead will, and
understanding.
especially getting it early, PBHead will never have to build power this whole game if he doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he can switch to it at any point if he just wants to take advantage of the price, but that does essentially give him 2 or 3 claims to work with that he wouldn't have normally. Whereas at the same time, because Cubit is robotic, he needs not necessarily twice as much power, but a lot more power than a player normally would have. So, where I said Cubit should be working to drive up the price of water, PBHead should be working to drive up the price of power, which is, so you saw he actually, power surged the solar panels, even though he knew he was going to hit himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Still a strong power surge, I think, for sure.
Cubit smartly grabbed the other water that was nearby him, he just got to grab those tiles when he can.
That mutiny. That's hilarious.
A crazy game. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen here. The thing PB does have is he has the more simple, like, he just has some buildings that are making money right now. He has some reactors that are making him money. He has some glass furnaces that are making him money. There's a lot of craziness going on, but there's a lot to be said just for that.
It is important to remember. Here's that downside of nuking that scientific player. His reactor's still online, making plenty of money despite the high water prices to center reactors in the diamond tier. Because it still has trace water under it. And interestingly enough, PB has gone for a patent lab. I almost expect slant drilling to be coming out here. But we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely slant drilling. Definitely, absolutely. He can get a triangle for glass. All those reactors he can turn back on for sure. Slant drilling.
Also interesting to
Fully
note,
commit and then just go water engine too. What the heck?
both of these players still sending aluminum. You can tell they're it feels like they got a bit of a case of the nerves going on right now.
It's $2 aluminum. Yeah, you should shut them off. The only thing danger about that is you eventually forget to shut them back on.
Yeah, but oh man, still $1 aluminum getting sent across the map at the cost of like 10 power a piece or something insane like that for Cubit, or 1 power piece for Cubit.
I count 10 aluminum blimps easily on the map right now.
Yeah, exactly. He had 10 aluminum blimps going at any given time. A whole 1 power a second in order to send aluminum.
PBHead took advantage of that mutiny of his water by going ahead and taking that chance to EMP all those spots, knocking out Cubit's power again. Power is now 240. Cubit's got to build some other power. He had those steel mills off for quite a while. Okay, he is building more solar panels.
Yeah, got more solar panels finally. Solar panels were going to be awkward, though, because silicon's been kind of expensive this whole time, and pirates have actually gone over in favor of PB, stealing up that silicon, which is a very nice move with these solar panels getting constructed. I like it. All right. It is going to be slant drilling, by the way. 30 more seconds until PB goes ahead and grabs that. That'll allow him to just kind of rely on his medium water for a long time, I think, if he needs to commit to more water tiles.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and goon squad that medium water right away if you could. Because then if water ever gets out of control, he always has the option to, put some water pumps next to it.
Okay, he has grabbed a goon squad. I'd almost expect that to go on his patent lab still, but it could hit the water as well.
Yeah, I'd hit the water. I mean, he's almost got slant drilling. I don't really care about predicting the patent lab. It gets destroyed, you rebuild it, whatever.
Yeah, that's usually my thought, but a lot of people like to attack the patent lab, and so you can catch some nice black market.
You know they're going to attack it, but I don't see Cubit necessarily doing that. Cubit's level 5. I was just about to mention, but of course now PBHead is as well. Cubit does take a big advantage of the fact you don't need glass, so he upgraded quickly. But now, of course, he needs the glass, and there's a shortage. He needs the glass, he needs electronics, he needs to get Offworld.
Yeah, of course.
Price is Offworld. Food is not great. Oxygen is 671 Offworld.
Man, again, really, really nice Offworlds. This is really playing in Cubit's favor, I think. Almost every game I see Cubit play, he has one thing that he does. I never see him vary from it, which is go for the Offworld. And if he can do it, if he can make it work, he can win the game. But if it falls off, Cubit has a lot of trouble recovering from that. It's very fortunate for Cubit this series that the Offworld has proven so valuable time and time again. Really making a big difference here.
He's built 3 electronics, but it's net sum, it's only making 1 electronics a second. That's a long way to go when he doesn't have any glass either.
Yeah, so hard to actually make electronics as a robotic player. A lot easier these days.
Yeah.
Generally
Well, he almost has enough steel. I would almost like to see him delete those steel mills, convert them into glass.
Well, I think the steel, I wouldn't be surprised if the steel just stays online. Cubit really likes to go for the 2 Offworlds.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see what happens. More glass coming down for PB, interestingly enough. His reactors are all making good money despite water's price, which is very nice for him.
I expect to see that triangle. The glass triangle makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not really take advantage of it.
And also got Chem Labs down right now
Same
for
thing.
PBhead. Very
Takes
nice
advantage of
stuff.
the fact that, yeah, he created triangles where they didn't exist before.
Yep.
And I assume he got nanotech and then just deleted his. Did he even bother with nanotech?
He got nothing. Yeah, he didn't even bother with nanotech. He just deleted the.
Be interesting to know,
Patent lab right
especially
away.
considering how the role nanotech played in the last game. But he did not go for that. Okay, he is going to glass furnaces, and like you said earlier, he is stuck in the corner there, so he's not going to be able to get a glass triangle up.
Solar panels still being a big deal for Cubit though this game. Power's never really fallen off, and so Cubit's been paying off a lot of debt with that. He still has a long way to go.
Yeah, Cubit's PBhead's a 225k debt.
No big surprise. He's not forced to pay it down, so he doesn't.
He hasn't been building any food the whole game, and at some point I expect to see PBhead start building food. I mean, the price is just too good. Although that water price is great also.
Yeah. What I really don't like out of PBhead this game though is going to be those electronics factories. They aren't doing anything for him right now.
Yep. As I expected, he did try to nuke that medium water, and it was protected by a good squad. It is open now, and PBhead did buy another underground nuke to drive the price up. But Cubit could make a huge play right now if he got to $9,000, bought that underground nuke, and got rid of that medium water. Because those buildings are each making $200.
Well, it'll still stay low, so he can't completely get rid of it.
Scientific.
I know. Scientific's a good colony.
Yeah, he's getting $600 a second from those waters. And here goes his off-world market. PBhead gets the off-world market up before Cubit. A lot of that probably has to do off the money he's making from water.
Water making him ridiculous
which
amounts
you
of money
probably
right
did
now.
not anticipate going into quite so strongly before this game began.
Yeah. I think I would love to see a transition into food from PB before too long if he can pull it off, but it's not that big a deal if he doesn't. Because here's the really good thing I love about PB right now. This is exactly a kind of PB move we've been seeing all tournament. PB's sitting on 360 carbon right now. 347, but still. Very high amount of carbon being stored up by PB. Because Cubit, well, he never committed to a patent lab, and he only committed to one carbon tile. So you can drive that carbon price up. It raises that electronics, the difficulty in making electronics.
Why doesn't he hack
So
carbon?
much.
He can make a killing off of that.
Ooh, underground
we
nuke.
just saw a nuke on the
Onto
Cubit's
Cubit's carbon.
low. Was that low or medium?
I believe that was
doesn't
low.
matter.
Because now it's trace.
Yeah.
Super
get that hacker ray
conductor.
up.
Whoa. Big deal right here, actually.
Wow.
Big deal.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, this could be a huge game changer for Cubit.
I do want to point out, while we wait for this
He is
patent to
building an
play
off-world
out,
market.
yeah, he's got the off-world market constructing, but I think it was badly misplaced.
Yeah,
right now.
why is it on? Was he thinking he was going to get thinking machines or
I
something?
think it's horribly misplaced, because even if he's getting thinking machines, you can put it to the tile to the southeast of it, right? That hex down there.
Yeah,
you're
for
still
sure.
adjacent to the colony, you're not on top of iron, and you're not disrupting your solar panel triangle. So I think a big mistake out of Cubit there. That might cost him in the long run. PBhead,
Yeah,
your
really
stock
could.
price is so low. Again,
it's-
he's going for the kill again, but this time I think there's a huge difference, which is the fact that he already has that off-world established. And so PBhead, I think, has a really nice lead going this game. I would love to see a transition into food instead of steel. I think that's a really important move that PB could go ahead and make because water's price has finally come down to a far more reasonable $23. But oh wow, that is a natural carbon short. Nobody getting an advantage off of it though. PBhead has gone ahead and sold down his carbon in
Yeah,
order
he
to
already
purchase
sold
into
it off.
Cubit's stock.
He's
But
not
still,
buying into it.
that's going to hurt Cubit in the long run still. Not being able to effectively make electronics is really, really painful for a robotic player.
Shipping oxygen off world. Oxygen is starting to get to crazy levels. But PBhead is also the only person, and he's at 100%.
All right, no big surprise there. PBhead just has to, well, he just needs the time at this point. He could have done it, but finally, we're going to have this series in Game 5, going over to PB. Don't found robotic, boys.
Well, that was just a weird game.
It was
I
a
don't know.
weird game. I loved the cold fusion, though. Definitely worked in his favor. He made it happen. I think in a 1v1, it's actually the easiest time to pull off the cold fusion.
Yeah.
I know it was
Well,
an accident.
Yeah. If you get cold fusion early, see, that's the thing. You get cold fusion halfway through the game, you already got some.
Exactly,
some
you're already
power down.
established.
And water is scarce on this map, and he just had to go for it. I think Cuba could have done some interesting stuff if he really committed to maybe a hacker array. Or don't build a hacker array, man. The whole series of games.
Yeah, no hacker arrays was really weird. We have seen some of those earlier in the tournament. I think even by PBHead dropping a few of them. But
yeah, I think there could have been a good use of them this game.
But still, he pulls it off. I mean, he made it work, even despite the cold fusion kind of shackling him in some ways, because we know for a fact that he doesn't play with it very often, at least, right?
Yeah. Well, he got it for cheap.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Did.
Strangely enough, Cuba was actually in a really good position to take advantage of the cold fusion. Like, he was sitting right next to all that water. You know,
yeah,
he could have easily switched over to water production at any point he wanted to. I almost think he should have gotten cold fusion.
I would have liked to see Cubit get far more aggressive in shutting down PB's water once he had it established.
Yeah, I totally agreed on that. He tried. He went for the, he went for the nukes. The main thing is he should have pushed harder on that medium water auction. That was a very well timed auction by the the game engine.
Oh, definitely. That was very helpful for PB, no question. I think
he
Cubit
should have
driven
just
that so much higher.
To 50,000. I mean, I don't know. That was a key tile.
It was a huge tile, that game. It's where all of PB's water actually was in the late game.
Plus slant drilling, great move. Slant drilling made made all the difference in the world for PBHead that game.
Absolutely.
Should we invite them into the Skype call?
We can. We can talk to them if they'd like to, especially PB. Cubit says robotic was misfound. I totally agree with him.
Like, literally misfound? Well, Peter probably doesn't mean literally. You're not going to accidentally click on robotic, I guess.
Well, no. He just says, I think robotic was misfound. So he made that decision, but he doesn't think it was the right call.
Did he found first?
I don't think so. I think... Actually, I don't remember.
Because I actually think he could have made it work, but I think he would have used the other tile. Again, I think Scavenger was the right thing to go up north where you're in the ice surrounded by all the other resources.
Yeah, but you go Scavenger every game you can get away with it.
Yeah, I know, but I think it was the right call this game.
Okay.
Do you disagree or not?
I think Scavenger would have been okay, but nothing was really great this game in a lot of ways. I probably would have gone... Actually, I probably would have gone robotic, if I'm honest, but...
So, like, it's, the meeting of the minds between the two of us.
If I'm honest, I probably would have gone robotic. But I'm suicidal like that, though. People shouldn't play like I do. But yeah, Scavenger, I think it could have worked. It's just that nothing was really great this game, but there was so much iron, it's hard to pass up on it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you hang up on me and then call PBHead? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Oh,
and you can Skype me in as well.
I can just add to group call right now, I think. Hi. See,
well, I actually need to switch over to my phone, so I'm going to hang up and call
PBHead,
right?
All right, sounds good. Come back in just a minute then.